What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast with myself, Luke. Callum's joined us once again, and a very happy return to Harry Scarf. Harry, how are you doing, mate? All right?
I'm very good, thank you. It's nice to be back. Looking forward to getting into it. Should be a good one today.
Yeah, definitely. And Callum, how are you, mate?
I'm suffering from sunstroke at the moment, mate. It's been a little bit too hot this week, and I forgot to wear my hat again. So, nice red chrome dome at the moment. Let's put it that way.
Nice, nice. So, for those that don't, see Callum on a weekly basis, just imagine a more handsome version of Daniel Levy, and that's what you've got. That was a nice thing I could have said, to be honest, Callum. I was going to first of all apologise about last week's show because I set up a show to go live, but there seemed to be an error when it went onto YouTube, like afterwards. So I don't know if it came out across live or not. So apologies to everyone like that. And apologies we're late. But Callum, I thought you were going to do the apologising because took you 10 minutes to turn your computer on. But we're here now, and we're here for a good show. So how it's going to work today? Actually, I'll give a few people a shout out. Jay in the comments said this will be an interesting debate. Stephen McGrath, so Wes's dad, has said evening rebels, and David Clark has said hi from Leicester, fellas. Are you ready to disagree? Lol. Oh, we've got Holly Agambar. She said good evening, and Wes's mum said evening all as well. So right, how it's going to work. It's going to be a bit of an interactive show tonight. So those of you listening on podcast, apologies, but you can play along at home anyway. And you can even write your thoughts in the comments on, Spotify and all the rest of it. We're going to go through every single player in the 25-26 squad list according to the Spurs website. And it's going to be an interactive chart along the way. So we'll discuss whether we should keep, loan, or sell each player along the way. If we all agree, they'll go into the category, and then at the end we'll have a big list. If we don't all agree and we can't come to a majority, then we will ask you guys in the chat to decide. So as we're playing along, let us know, keep, loan, or sell to every player that pops up. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like as well. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, leave us a 5-star review. Oh, that's nice. Jay said, evening, Harry. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Right.
He's the only one that's happy this has happened.
Let's bring it up and let's try and crack on. So as you can see, we've got three categories, keep, loan, or sell. And we're going to go through every player along this list. So we're going to start with Brandon Austin. Harry, a bit unfortunate last season. He finally got his big break in the Spurs team after however many years, 7 years, the club, and been on the bench many, many times. Played once or twice, and then we signed Kinski. Do you think we should keep Brandon Austin, loan him, or sell him?
For me, we keep him. I think you make a good point that he did impress last season. He waited a long time to get that opportunity, and I think he stepped up to the table. And it felt harsh to bring Kinski in and kind of take over when Vicario was injured. It was probably the right thing to do. Obviously, Forster's now left. I think that Whiteman will probably too. So I think that Austin, for me, as a backup to Vicario or even as the third goalkeeper, makes sense. I think the way I look at it is, when is he going to get that opportunity? If when he does, he's impressed. Surely for me that he's done enough anyway to at least be number two. So yeah, for me it is I'd say confident keep.
Okay, for me, it's I don't mind him. I've got nothing against him. I just think he got his chance and we still signed somebody else. I just think when you've been at a club this long, go out and get football. Go out and just play for somebody, be a first team goalkeeper at a championship club, and have a career in football. Mine is sell, to be honest. So Callum, what are you going for? Because we've got one keep and one sell. Are you going to agree or disagree?
It's got to be a keep because Spurs are a shit show and we can't meet homegrown quotas. So he's got to stay one way or another. He's the only player that qualifies as a homegrown at club level at the moment, considering Whiteman has left the club. So no matter whether he wants to stay, leave or go, he's staying because we ain't got another choice, to be honest, mate.
Fair enough. A few people in the chat as well said keep. So Jay said keep. Wes's mum also said keep as well. So
Wes's mum's got a soft spot for him by the look of it.
And David Clark has said keep as well. So everyone's agreeing with you boys to begin with. Let's move on to Destiny Udogi. I think it's a simple one, isn't it? It's got to be keep. Anyone disagree with that?
No.
No, right. Go straight in. There we go. That's the quick one, isn't it? They will become more difficult to go along with, especially with the next person, Brian Hill, back from his loan spell for the entire last season. Do we see him getting Callum a chance under the new manager, or where are we at with Brian Hill?
In all honesty, I hope we can finally move him on, because I saw someone post yesterday that in the same summer that we was looking at him, we could have gone for Florian Wirtz, and instead we coughed up the money for this bastard. So, I mean, the sooner he goes, the more it will do me, the better.
Fair enough. So that's a sell, is it?
Yeah, that's a sell, hands down. If not, get rid of him on loan and just let his contract elapse. Simple as that. We've got to get some money back.
No, fair enough. Harry, what are you going for?
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think it's a sell for me. I don't think we've seen enough. I think there's maybe potential there, but I don't think he's right for the Premier League. You do get some players that doesn't mean they're a bad player at all. In fact, they can be quite good, but they aren't right for certain leagues. And I think Gill's a good example of that. So it's a sell for me.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I've been trying to wrap my brains to somehow disagree, because I just think the way that we did this deal, in terms of we got rid of Eric Lamela, who was doing all right for us at the time. We then get him plus Eric. We get rid of Eric Lamela plus money for Brian Hill. I think from financial perspective, you should try and keep and see if he can turn into something. But I think you're 100% right. He doesn't look strong enough for me at times in the Premier League, and the times that he has played. I mean, he definitely wasn't fancied under Ange, was he? But yeah, let's all agree and stick him in sell. David Clark has said, Hill, jog on, mate. He also said Hill on an artificial pitch at 6-a-side would be great.
Yeah, I think when Seville sold him to us, they must have pulled our pants down seeing Daniel Levy doing that to get 30 million out of that deal plus Eric Lamela. I mean, we got robbed daylight.
Yeah, I think sometimes you take a risk on unexpected talent, don't you? And sometimes it just doesn't pay off. So that's that. Right, so let's go Ben Davies next. Obviously, just signed a 1-year contract extension. Harry, I know your thoughts on Ben Davies. Pretty happy with him at the club still?
Yeah, I think so. I've been in two minds, to be honest with you. I know, obviously, that he had that year extension has been triggered, so he is going to stay. Part of me thinks his experience. Thomas Frank can play a back 3 or 4, and that does suit Ben Davies. And the squad desperately lacks experience. It lacks leadership. I think Davies brings both those things to the table. But at the same time, I do think there's a point where you have to go, look, thank you for your service, but enough is enough. We're going to move you on. So to be honest with you, this might be a little bit surprising, but if it was down to me, I would have gone to, I say sell, but it would have been release this year and move on. But that doesn't mean that, Davies is bad or anything like that, because people often confuse those two things together. I think Davies has been a fantastic servant and it should be appreciated in every way. But I think there's a point where you go, look, we want to get to the next level now. Thank you, but it's time to move on. Yeah,
I think I agree. I think there's times when you could hold on for somebody too long, and then maybe some of the players, in this that we will be discussing that about as well. But I think at this time, he could go and play week in, week out again at a, Championship level, bottom of the table level, Premier League club, I suppose. Maybe even Wrexham would want to take a punt on him. But look, he is staying because he signed a 1-year contract extension. But I also would agree with you for sell. Callum, are you agreeing? Is it going to be a hat-trick of sells, or do you want to keep him?
I think that you do need that elder statesman in your squad. I think he's reliable enough, but I think he's earned the right to choose himself, to be honest, whether he wants to stay, do his coaching badges with us, whether he wants to leave. I just think the contract extension was to protect some value. So, I mean, he can be sold this summer if they really want to. I mean, I've heard a fee of 5 to 10 million mooted around. So if we can get back the money, we sort of paid for him to Swansea all them years ago. I think, good luck to him. And, I'd say sell. I think he takes up a slot in squads, which we need at the moment. But you never know. Frank could decide otherwise. Let's put it this way: he revolutionised Ben Mee, so maybe he can do it with Ben Davies.
No, fair enough. So you're going to sell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Ben Davies in the sell. Right. Valise. Again, went on loan last season. Played bits and bobs when we first signed him. Do you know what? I quite like him. I'm sticking my neck out there. I'm 100% want to keep him. Whether I keep him like in the first team squad, probably don't. I would say, he deserves to have a Premier League move on loan, get some more experience, get some first team football. So I'm going to loan 100%. I'm not selling him. I think he's young enough to still see what he's got. So I'm going to go loan. Callum, you're shaking your head.
For me, it's this one is an active one that I've heard from the club themselves. They are looking to sell him back to Argentina anyway. Just no one wants to spend the money. We overpaid for him. I don't think there's a good player in there, and I think that the fact that we did get him, complete waste of time. So it's sell for me. There's not a player there.
21 years old, and he's got the same amount of goals as Tell.
Has he? I thought he only got one.
How many did Tell get?
3.
Where did he get the other 2 from? I only remember he scored against Villa.
Cup competitions.
Oh, they don't count, do they?
They add up to the overall. No, I just think the thing with Valise, he never set the world alight when we went and got him. I don't know who scouted him, to be honest, mate. And the only club that's been interested in going to get him back has been Rosario Central, and they want a loan back or maximum to pay 4 to 5 million. We're looking to get 10. Even the clubs that he's gone on loan to haven't been interested in getting him. He doesn't even suit European football at the moment, and he's definitely not someone in our squad, because all he does, he takes up squad number and a squad place. So yeah, for me, it's a sell.
No, that's fair enough. Harry, do you agree? Sell?
It's a tough one, to be honest with you. I've had similar things to Callum in terms of that. It seems like pretty much certain that he will end up back at Argentina. It's just a case of who wants him. I heard Rosario Central, Callum mentioned there, but it just seems a weird one. I just think we need to take a moment to reflect on how bad our recruitment's actually been. But what I do share, with you, Luke, is that he is, young, and it wouldn't make sense, would it, to get rid of him? So for that reason, I'd say loan. But I do think that Callum has got a point in terms of, I think this will be a player that turns out not to be as good as maybe people thought, and another poor signing by the club. But I like the passion that we saw when he scored. I don't know, just the times I saw him at the stadium and myself, the passion was there, and that's for me a key ingredient. Any club, of course, you've got to produce on the pitch as well. So this is an interesting one. It's one that could come back to bite either way. I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to go in the middle with loan with this one.
Loan. Okay, perfect. Let's stick him in loan. Look, he's 21 years old. Like, he doesn't look like a Premier League player at this moment in time. I also don't think we've seen enough of him. I don't think we ever will see enough of him. Do you get what I mean? Like, he's not at that level where you'd call on him to bring him on in games. Currently at the moment with the likes of Richarlison, Son, other players that could go and play centre forward, even Scala at times. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's other players that would more likely get a shot before him, and probably players that should get a shot before him as well. Looking at Dane Scala, he probably should. Deserved. If anyone deserves a slot or a shot, probably should be him over Valise anyway. But look, let's stick him on loan. Right, Callum, Mickey van der Ven up next.
Oh, it's got to be a stay. This man's our heart of our defence for years to come, unless Real Madrid come and pull our pants down.
Yeah, Harry, keep.
Yeah, I don't need to say much about this one. It's a very, very simple keep. What a player, good signing, and actually a good bit of business, which is rare with the club. But in periods, we did get it right. This is a good signing. Yeah,
100%. And Callum, it's keep that you need to keep to the right words.
Yeah.
Don't confuse me with the word stay. I'm like, what's that category?
I forgot that you was very simple, mate. You can't differentiate between the two, can you?
Exactly. Right. Ashley Phillips up next. Harry.
Keep. I really liked what I saw last season at Plymouth. I thought he was fantastic, and it's about time that we get players that impress on their loan spell, get an opportunity in the first senior team the following season. So, yeah, Phillips and me, why not take a punt? And that, for me, it doesn't matter whether we bring in centre-backs, we sell centre-backs. He has to be in there as an option, and I think he would suit Thomas Frank's system as well. So, yeah, quite a simple keep for me. But it's a case of whether you keep on loan. You can't be selling him, but I'd probably keep him in the first team.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think for the price that we paid for him, like, it doesn't make much sense to sell. It was a very, very cheap deal at the time, and so I probably would go loan just because of who we've got around the first team. But there are some defenders that I might want to get rid of anyway. So I mean, there may end up being a slot for him, but I'm going to go with loan on this one. But you could argue for keep as well. Callum, I've got a soft spot for him actually as well, talking about Football Manager, because he was an absolute beast for me on Football Manager. So that's another reason why. But where are you going with this one?
For me, it's a loan, and that's based on, like what you say, there's a player in there, but there's a lot of options ahead of him, and the club actively are looking to get him a lower Premier League loan or a Championship loan towards top level at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. If you're ever searching on Football Manager for over 6 foot centre backs with good heading ability, then
well, they've got it's Ashley Lamppost Phillips. There you go.
Exactly. Whenever I'm setting up a team, that's the first thing I'm looking for in centre backs. I need good heading ability and need over 6 foot in height. That's what I'm all about. Anyway, Rodrigo Bentancur was mentioned actually in name, Callum, by Thomas Frank in his initial interview, which shows that he obviously has. I mean, he did try and caveat that by saying, there's lots of players who I also haven't mentioned as well. But says to me that he has something in him that Frank likes. For me, it's a very, very easy keep with him. How about you?
Yeah, keep, and there are active discussions at the moment over a extension to his contract. So there is a plan for him to stay. So I would say that for me, keep all day long, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Jay said Van der Ven keep, Phillips loan, get him a bit more experience and more playing time. Jay's miles behind because he also said Brian Hill sell 100%. And David Clark said Bentancur keep. Oof. Who knew you were so passionate, David, about Bentancur? But love to see that. Harry, is it clean sweep for Bentancur for keep?
Firstly, it seems like Callum's the new Fabrizio Romano, so it's quite nice to get his insight on things. No, all jokes aside, secondly, with Bentancur, it's an absolute keep. I think it was crazy that people suggested selling him earlier in the season. I think, of course, there's questions about maybe, reliability or whether he'd be right for a certain position, but I think he's class, and at his best, I think he's a real special player there.
Yeah, here we go, bold, I think is the phrase that you'll be saying.
You're a prick.
Love that. I'm going to use that.
But should be here we gone. But anyway, or here we're gone. Right, anyway,
why do I come on here? Why do I do both of your podcasts? All I get is killed. I don't even get paid for this shit. If I get paid, at least I'll do it.
Fair enough. Right, let's move on to Odebear, I believe that is, if I can see correctly on my small screen. What do we think, Callum, about Odebear? If Wes was on here, it'd be 100% keep. We saw glimpses definitely last season with his ability, but obviously injuries did hamper his progress in the season as well. Definitely, in my eyes, I saw it being an Ange type of signing. Obviously, now we have Thomas Frank. What do you think?
I think it's got to be keep here. I reckon that he could be sort of like what Frank did with Ollie Watkins, Sharda, Visser, converted them into better forward players. So I think there's a really good option here. I mean, I don't particularly like Odebear myself personally. I think that we should have gone for a better player last year, but we've got to work with what we've got. So I think that, no, there's definitely a good player in there. And I think Frank and Justin Cochran could have some fun trying to get his end product to be better this year. Let's put it that way.
Nice one. So it's keep for you on Odegaard.
Yeah.
Perfect. Harry?
Yeah, I have to associate myself with what Callum's said there. Ultimately, an absolute keep. I think, yeah, of course, I don't think he maybe showed enough over the course of the season. As you mentioned rightfully, Luke, injuries is a big reason for that. And Callum probably makes a good point. Whether we should have signed Odegaard or not, I don't know. But I think we should definitely sign another top, more experienced winger at that time, which is frustrating that we didn't. But Odegaard, for me, especially towards that end of the season, really showed in moments, in glimpses, what he's capable of. For me, maybe it's a confidence thing, wanted to take on his man, because when he did do it, he did look good, and he's a player that I think can really benefit under Thomas Frank being the new head coach. So, yeah, it's a pretty simple keep for me.
Yeah, I probably want to agree with David Clark here that says Odegaard loan. I just think he's young enough to get a loan and gain some experience from it. But I think we're so light in terms of those kind of wide winger positions that it's probably more likely to be a keep. I don't see us loaning a player like that, but I think it would be good for him to get more kind of signing him from a Championship Burnley at the time. We'd better to get some more Premier League game time. But I mean, as I said, we're really light in that department, and it looks like either a right or a left-sided winger is where Spurs want to target. But I mean, this isn't a transfer show. But again, once again, it shows you what a big club are when you look at the likes of Liverpool, and a club that are Spurs and aren't really. So, in terms of how many players are signing, right? Anyway, Odegaard goes into our keep list. So far, we've only got 2 to go on loan and 2 to sell. Let's have a quick go at Pat Matasar is the next one in the list. I think this is an easy one for me. It's keep. Does anyone disagree on that? No.
It's keep for me.
Yeah, Harry.
Yeah, I think it's a key. I don't think he's been as good as I thought he would be, but I think that still he's a key player, box-to-box midfielder with energy. I'd question, what more does he have to his game? I think this is probably a big season for him, but I see no reason to rush to sell though.
Yeah, I think in a pressing Thomas Frank side, I can see more coming out of him in this. I think, as you say, he was in the same talent pool at Metz, I believe, as Sadio Mane and other players like that. With their talent scouting pool that they do. So he's obviously he got Young African Player of the Season a couple of years ago as well, I believe. So, I mean, he's getting these kind of, his reputation for a reason. I like that he's quite leggy. I like that he's quite rangy. I think he needs to be kind of taught a little bit better and maybe, coaching will be better for him under Frank, who knows? But definitely a keep for me. We've got loads of people here. Jay saying keep, David Clark keep. Where's his mum? Also keep. So that's good to see that everyone agrees with us. To be fair, when David Clark joined today, I thought, there's going to be some disagreements here. But so far, David, you're doing good. Let's see what we all think about Anton Kinski. Personally, on this one, I think he's good enough to. I know because there has been very mild rumours or people writing on, or at least people writing on Twitter about Vicario, being sold or someone looking to purchase Vicario and all the rest of it. I think that if that was to happen, personally, I think Kinski is already at an ability that he could be Spurs' #1 keeper. I think if we do keep him, which 100% we should, I think he could be Spurs keeper for a long, long, long time. I think his ability with the ball at his feet, the way he was able to step into that Liverpool game on his first game and really just take control of that, I think is sensational from him. So for me, it's a 100% keep. But Harry, do you agree?
Absolutely, I think he's very good. If I'm honest with you, I think we've seen probably too many mistakes since he's joined the club in terms of, he could have done better at shot stopping. I think Villa away is a good example of that, where both goals are down to him. But you're absolutely spot on in terms of we throw him into a tough situation at Anfield away, and he's done very well. And his distribution is class, there's no doubt about it. So it's weird. I wish we could combine the two goalkeepers together, because Vicario is a great shot stopper and Kinski's distribution is top notch, and playing out from the back and just general distribution and playing with the feet, which Vicario for me is good at none of that. So if only we could combine both of them. And I think it's a closer match between the two, I suppose, closer than people think. So I'm absolutely with you. It's a keep. It's two top goalkeepers. Now, I forgot about Kinski, if I'm honest with you, when speaking about Austin. So in my eyes, to have Vicario, Kinski and Austin as our first three goalkeepers isn't bad at all. It's what we want. It's the best we've had for me anyway for a few years, in particular in Kinski and Vicario. So Vicario, I'm not 100% decided. I'll obviously get to him a little bit later on. But for me, Kinski is an absolute keep.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right in terms of them being like that close. In terms of ability, I think if Kinski was to work on his shot stopping, obviously he becomes a better keeper than Vicario. I think the one thing that Vicario does let himself down on is his ability to play out from the back, and whether we'll see that as much and as much risk taking as we had with Ange is a different story. But I think in the modern game you need to be able to play with the ball with your feet as well. So definite keep. Callum, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's got to be a keep, to be honest. I can't see him supplanting Vicario this year, but I can't see the club selling Vicario either. The club that's interested is AC Milan. Why would he want to trade up a team in Spurs in the Champions League and AC Milan, who have no European football at all? And they're not going to... It's such a difficult position to replace. So, no, I think goalkeeper is the last place where they're going to try to sell anyone at the moment, mate. So, yeah, keep Kinski.
Perfect. And again, another easy one, Brennan Johnson. Everybody agree with keep on him? Oh, Harry, you're on mute.
Look, he's quiet. Fucking hell, silence is golden. There we go.
Oh, God. That wasn't good. Sorry, I was going to want to say a piece on Brennan Johnson.
If you tell me now, I'll just remove you now.
Yeah, exactly. Brennan Johnson, a lot of criticism throughout the season, so credit to him. Kept his head high. There's moments where he could have thrown his toys out the pram, which just a select few have in the Premier League this season, but he got on with it, and it clearly hurt him. It clearly affected him. We saw that Coventry away, reluctant to clap the fans, but then I just think the fans, majority, done well in the end to get behind it, but him himself picked himself up and has had a really good season. And you can't argue against the facts, the statistics, because they do matter. They do tell you the story with Brennan Johnson. It doesn't, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't care less how he plays. You're getting the goals, you're getting the assists, you're winning games, and you're getting us points, and you're working us up the table and getting us closer to success. It's as simple as that. And Johnson has been instrumental.
100%. I think you cannot look behind the person who scored the most goals for Spurs last season in all competitions. The guy who scores the winning goal, regardless of how you look at it in the Europa League final, to win Spurs a trophy. You can't go.
For me, you have to look at yourself. You're saying loan or sell. I'll say it in the nicest possible way. I think you have to have a look at the point you're making. I've seen a couple of comments there. I believe you're all entitled to your opinion, but I'd say, if you get rid of Johnson's goals and assists, we probably would have got relegated last season. It's as simple as that. Johnson had an impact off the bench or from the start, and we wouldn't be winning the Europa League without him. So I'd put that question to those people saying, sell, etc. Of course, I want us to sign a Burmo, and do I think that Johnson should start every week? Maybe not. I think healthy competition is good. I'm not saying that he's this world-class player, but he's a lot better than people give him credit for.
100%. Callum, do you disagree with anything?
No, I echo what Harry's saying, to be fair. I mean, I don't think he's anything special, but there's a lot of other people that I'd sell before him, let's put it that way. And he's a good option in the squad, and he's sort of got age on his side where he can improve, I'm hoping. So potentially could be another one that Frank makes a much better player, like we did with Burmo and Chada and all them, like I said earlier.
Perfect. Right, Dejan Kulusevski, keep?
Yeah.
Callum?
Yeah.
Perfect. Right, here we go. Getting a bit trickier now. So we've got Yang. I'm not going to try and pronounce his full name. On loan at QPR last season, I believe. For me, it's got to be a loan. Harry?
Yeah, too raw, I think, but the signs look good. But yeah, loan would be, I think, the right thing to do.
And Callum?
Yeah, loan for me. Didn't really set the world alight too much, to be honest, down at QPR. He didn't really impress that many people either. So, yeah, another season on loan, see how it goes. and then go from there. It was more of a commercial move, I think, if anything, wasn't it, last summer, where they looked to do it. So, yeah, loan him out, Championship or lower Premier League if we can.
Yeah, definitely. I think, being 19 years old and going on loan to a Championship club, from playing in South Korea, I think that you wouldn't expect, there's only a few Lamine Yamals that exist in this world. Do you know what I mean? And so I think you can only expect what you can expect. I think a couple of seasons on loan will do him good and see where we go from there. It looks like it must be an investment signing for Spurs. So we'll see if it pulls off. Great. If they can make a few quid from it, then also great. Right, Manor Solomon. There's been a lot of talk about him recently. I'm not going to get too much into it, to be honest. But I'm going to go sell. Callum, what are you going for?
For me, taking any of the sort of geopolitical stuff out of it, anything like that, I think for the club, I just can't see him making an impact, to be honest. So I'd rather sell him. We got him on a free. If we can get 15 to 20 million, use it to recycle and put back into the squad, mate. But apparently Frank wants to look at him. So if Frank wants to do something, then I'm glad he's the head coach and not myself. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think when we first saw him, he looked all right pre-season, when we first got him. And then, if we need a left-sided player, right, and we've always been crying out for this as Spurs fans, is like, we want Spurs to sign players who are going to better our squad and improve us and all the rest of it. If a player doesn't, then we can't just hold on to them for whatever reason that is. That's the only reason again for me. I just don't think he adds anything to that left-hand side that we don't already have. In the likes of Son, Tell, even Odebeck can play over that side with Richarlison. They would all for me start over that. So yeah, Harry, do you agree, or would you like to see him give it a chance?
Yeah, I don't agree. I actually, for me, I feel like it's sad that some people can't separate politics, conflicts, wars from players and their ability. For me, based on what I've seen with Solomon in a Spurs shirt, for example, which wasn't a lot because he got injured, was promising. You're right, we didn't see enough, but I think it was largely down to injuries and impressed away at Leeds. I have absolutely no doubt that he will. I don't think he'll stay at the club. And I know we're hearing that Frank wants to give him a chance, but I just can't see, for other reasons other than football factors, that he stays at the club. I just can't see it happening. I don't think the club will want to go through that. I think they're struggling to go through that with social media at the moment. I don't think it's right, but I think that's the case that it is, the world we live in. So I think Solomon will be sold. I think he done well at Leeds last year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think that, impressing at a Championship level is great. But maybe Leeds want him. Do you know what I mean? As far as I hear from Leeds fans and stuff, they would love to sign him. So
it depends on the price. Is all I will say.
The Spurs got him on a free transfer. So for Spurs, it should be an easy deal. As Callum said, £10 million or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
it's all just profit money, and I don't know why they wouldn't just get a deal done. Sometimes we're too greedy in that sense, where we want too much.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
When you get someone on a free transfer, it's all profit. So why not take a cut price on someone for the sake of just getting some money through the door? But anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
That could make the difference between signing Eze or something. You know what I mean? Getting the money up front for an upfront deal or something. But anyway, right. Let's move on to Christian Romero. Look, I'm going to say keep, right? But I'm going to say keep. But I just think currently with the centre backs we have, I personally wouldn't mind seeing Danso and Van der Ven as a centre back pairing and have Christian Romero, gone. I think that the reason, and this is another clever reason why, is because he's got 2 years left on his contract. If he doesn't sign a new contract by the end of next season, he's into his last year. We will, from a financial point of view, we'll get no money for him. So, if someone's willing to pay 50 million, 60 million right now, which obviously Atletico Madrid aren't because they're tight as fuck, but that would be my reason to sell him. I think he's been great recently. I think, from my issues back in the day, Harry, before Ange took over and you were on here, I've definitely warmed to him, and he's definitely calmed down a lot as well, which is a lot of my issues. But I just think when you look at it at a financial point of view, now would be the time to cash in on Romero. But that's my opinion. Callum, I'll come to you next, and I'll go to Harry.
Such a difficult one. He is our best centre-back. If we're going to go with a big club mentality, we keep, make him sign a new deal and then shackle him up somewhere and don't let him leave Hotspur way unless it's a match day. But I can see Levy doing his usual this summer. If someone comes up to 70 million, I could see him selling. But my personal opinion is keep. We should build around him, not go, oh, we're going to sell him and then we'll go and get someone who could be Romero in 2-3 years' time. Because if it's to be believed, he's going to Liverpool and that would be our prime replacement for him. So instead, we will get Kevin Danso and Radu Dragusin to replace him.
Well, this is my other reason, right? Is that the price for Gahey currently at this moment in time is around like upfront costs of around 35-40 million pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's as good as Christian Romero, in my opinion. He is as good. Like, and I guarantee you, if he signs for Liverpool, he goes and plays instead of Konate, and he plays full time with Virgil van Dijk as centre back for Liverpool.
But remember, Romero's a World Cup winning captain for his country, isn't he? So
use the word World Cup winner just because he's at one of World.
Never lost the final, Romero. Never lost the final.
If we're thinking like a big club, we keep him. Simple as that, and we make him our captain next year. Because I can't see Sonny being the captain. But if Atletico cough up 70 million, I think he'll go. But if Atletico cough up the 35, the problem was they paid 80 or 90 million for bloody Alvarez last year as well. So, and they want to pay 30 million for Andy Robertson. So, I mean, what does that say? It's like if you're going to go, if we're going to act like a big club, we keep Romero and build with him in the squad this summer. But if Levy's going to do his usual shite, then he will go and we'll probably get 50 million for him. And I think it'd be diabolical. But what can we expect from Spurs? But personal opinion, I want him to stay.
Yeah, Harry, agree?
Yeah, I do. I feel quite passionately about this one, and I think kind of makes some good points. I think if we're a serious club, which I do question at the very best of times, in particular right now with recent decisions in recent days, but I think you keep Romero. You do everything in your power to offer him a new contract, a very, very good deal, clearly improved salary on what he's currently on. You commit him long term. You make him the captain's calendar. And I'm going to drop a statement here because I hate building up kind of Spurs players and saying, they're the best at this, best at that. We see it a lot. Arsenal fans do it with their centre backs. But one thing I think I've learned over the last few months, I think that Romero is one of the best centre backs in the world. I do not think you can replace him. I think you make a good point with Mark Gahey in terms of he's a good centre back. Absolutely gets that Liverpool defence, but I don't think he is as good as Romero. And in the end, I think we end up playing a little bit more than that for Mark Gahey. So as far as I'm concerned, for 70 million, I would not sell Romero. And if Atletico do play 70 million, where I do associate myself with Callum in particular, is that I do think Levy takes the easy option. But at the same time, I would say I think that Daniel Levy right now is the biggest barrier for us being able to compete with the top clubs. So his decisions around managers, the hire, and appointments, the sackings, etc. So, he is a continued barrier, and I think he will have a large say on this one with Romero. But at the same time, what I will say is, though, I really do want to keep him. If he doesn't want to be here, I also don't believe in keeping players that don't want to be here because they can't do their best. You can't, have you seen that? Players that want to leave, will force a move, and it's not healthy to keep them here. We're not Romero FC at the same time, although I do think he is important. I think it's be very telling in terms of how serious we are as a club, whether he stays or goes, because I think he is our best defender. I love Van der Ven, but Romero for me is simply world class.
No, fair enough. Look, two keeps, and the rules are we stick them in the keep section. Just quickly, and Ozzy in the chat, we will go next week. We'll be talking about all transfers and everything else, so we'll get onto that next week for sure. Right, Archie Gray. I'm going to say keep. Harry?
Yeah, I thought about loan, but I think keep would be better. I think he's a player that can really thrive under Thomas Frank.
Yeah, I agree. Callum?
Keep. Thomas Frank tried to buy him last summer. Simple as that. We nicked him off of Brentford. He had a medical. We had everything done, and we swooped in. So if we can keep Archie and develop him, simple as that. I think he'd be a very good option. Yeah.
He clearly wanted to go, clearly was interested in Brentford at the time, and then he ended up going to Spurs, which is clearly the better option. And then he gets to work under Thomas Frank anyway. So I think he.
I think that links to Brennan Johnson as well, because remember, Brentford tried to get him before he came to us as well. So I think two players that Frank will be interested in is Frank and Johnson. He's actively tried to sign them. So both are keep for me.
Right, Lucas Bergvall. Anyone disagree with Keith?
No, you'd be crazy too.
No, I know. I heard someone a few weeks ago in the chat tell us that we
Really?
should send him on loan. I thought perhaps he's smoking something.
Wow.
Right, a difficult one. Jed Spence. There's a lot of love for Jed Spence at Spurs. Actually, it feels like he hasn't, got given kind of, the time that he needs and all the rest of it. The only issue that I have with Jed Spence is his inability to stick consistently at like a top performance level. Like we've seen against Liverpool, he had Mo Salah in his pocket, at home. And then we see some games towards the end of the season where he can't string two passes together. And that's the worrying thing. Like, we have to act like a big club. And is he a player that I see, playing for us like long term? I mean, for me, I'm going to have to go sell, unfortunately. But Callum, what are you going for?
For me, he fits a quota, so it's got to be keep, to be honest, mate.
No,
that's the only reason.
Yeah, although you surprised me, Luke, I do think you make valid points. It's consistency that is the issue with Jed Spence. Used to be attitude. I think it is now purely around consistency. I will say, I think he's so much better at left back than we've seen him there. So in my eyes, we have Udogie as the starting left back, probably just, but it's up for debate, and Spence as the backup left back. The club will not look at it like that, but that's how I look at it. Then the right-hand side, you have Porro, and then we go out there and sign a backup / competition for Porro. That's how I envision it, and that obviously would have meant not signing Davis. We've done that. Extended Davis's contract. We did do that. So Spence I would keep, but I think opinions up for debate with that one, because I think you make a good point, because he's not going to be consistent. You don't want him here, but generally I think that he done a decent job at times last season, but he did fall off a cliff at times as well.
Yeah, and look, you do make a good point as well. Like, we need either a right side or a left side. If we sell him as well, we then need double that, in terms of backups in those positions. We can talk about actually Gray playing right back, but I'd much rather see him be developed in his natural position, which is in midfield.
The only reason I'd say potentially sell him, from what I've heard, Spurs are looking at Sirkin and Kyle Walker-Peters to come back. And they're not greatest options, but they do meet this homegrown quota. So if you do get them in, then you do probably sell Spence. But at the moment, there's nothing confirmed on that. So
sorry, do you know what really pisses me off if this happens, right? And we will talk about transfers next week. I don't want to get too bombarded in this, right? But the absolute audacity, and I'm going to give that Vinner, I'm going to give him some time, because I've heard really good things about him, from quite a few footballing people. But what really pisses me off is that Daniel Levy has the audacity to sit there on that video and say that, last season was great, but now I want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. And then you look at Kyle Walker-Peters on a free transfer because he fucking, covers quotas, and it's an easy option to do. Like, makes me sick, honestly. Like,
action speaks louder than words, Luke. Is all I was saying.
Like, how much time I've given this chairman to do what is right.
You have. You absolutely have.
And and we win something big, and we just go back to square one. Sack the manager, hiring somebody else, and then get players on free transfers that we sold for some money, and then we get them for nothing. So actually, when we sell them again, it'll make us more money again. It's just. Anyway, let's move on. James Maddison.
Maddison for me is a keep.
Yeah, for me as well. Harry?
Yeah, it annoys me at times, but what a player when he's on it. Likeable human as well. Absolute key, very key part of the captaincy group as well. You could see that, especially with the final.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was a bit off him when he first signed. I thought, he was more interested in the extracurricular activities outside of football. But, very likable human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's annoying at times, but but he is when he's on it, he's on it, and let's see how he performs under Frank. Same for Pedro Porro. Keep.
Yeah.
Get
Spurs'
better,
best player. I think Spurs' best, if not one of the best last year, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he
absolutely.
really stepped up, especially in big games as well. I thought he really showed, that he's enjoying his time at Spurs as well. It's an interesting one because there have been rumours this week of, Turkish teams, Galatasaray, I believe, being interested in Yves Bissouma. I'd be surprised if we got rid of him, but we do have a bloated midfield, I would say, in terms of that kind of holding role in terms of, if you can call it that, in midfield, especially with the likes of, obviously, Gray, because Sarr could play in that type of position, even though he's more box to box. Bissouma, and I just think that if a position was to be got rid of players, I think midfield is definitely somewhere where we could lighten. I'd still like to keep him. I think we saw glimpses towards the end of last season of the player that he could be. So I'm going to say keep, but Callum, look like you disagree.
For me, he's had 3 seasons at the moment, and he's the most inconsistent player that I've seen in a long time at Spurs, to be honest. I think there is a player in there, but Spurs have done what they usually do. They've ruined the player that was at Brighton, to be honest. So, yeah, it's a sell for me, and there's too many mistakes in his game. If I had a choice now based on Frank coming in, and this is really going to polarise opinions, but this is not sort of geared towards this 6th role under Frank. Harry's old mate Højbjerg is in his role now, so we probably should have sold Bissouma and kept Højbjerg. But no, it's
I don't. We're not starting that again, are we?
Well, that's where I can see it going at some point. But no,
He's still at the company. Sorry, he's still up here.
No, we sold him to Marseille for 15
the club
million.
Website, it says a loan.
Yeah, loan with an obligation.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so no, Biss for me, sell him. He's had enough chances, enough managers, and I just don't think he's ever set the world alight. And I think his off-field antics get in the way of it, to be honest.
No, fair enough. We're still going on about him doing a balloon.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's just him. All the fucking videos that you see go around social media of him. He's like Maddison. He thinks he's off the field actions get in the way of him being a good player, I think, to be honest.
I mean, we shouldn't condone those types of behaviours, I should probably say, for any kind of legal reasons, in case anyone shouts at me for saying that. Anyway, Harry, Bissouma, keep, loan or sell?
You know me, I hate being on the fence. This is one that I find really difficult, because if you'd asked me just a few weeks ago, it would have been a sell. Hasn't been consistent enough for the same reasons that Callum said, but he was just so good and instrumental in getting to that final. And I've used that word a lot tonight, but I think this is fair with this. Those couple of games, that quarter-final, but in particular semi-final, final, I think his role was so important when Ange needed him most. I'd probably lean towards sell. We'll go with sell, but I think it's really tough. But it does depend on the price. It really does. Can we get more than we paid for him? Probably not. That's where the issue lies. And it depends on what's available in the market for what price. I mean, if I'm, Daniel Levy right now, I won't look at it like this, but I mean, price for him is never the barrier, it's the wages. I'll just be like, right, how can we improve Spurs? How can we build on last season? Personally, think back in the manager that, achieved you success, first trophy in 17 years, then 3rd European trophy in history. I'd personally back him, but they haven't done that. That's fine. But how can you push on? And that won't be how he looks at it. It'll be, can we get more than we see how we sold him for? So I would lean towards sell, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, definitely can't see us making much of a profit on it, but only time will tell. He has joined the sell list, so we'll move on from there. Dominic Solanke, I think he's going nowhere. Obviously, club record signing. Thomas Frank also name dropped him as well, as someone that he's really looking forward to working with. So I'll just do it the other way. Does anybody disagree on keeping Dominic Solanke?
Nope.
Perfect. Interesting one here. Heung-min Son, Spurs captain, finally wins a trophy at this football club. I'm sorry, I'm saying sell. I think, look, if he hadn't have won the Europa League, cheap, but look, he's done everything for this football club. He's captained us to a European trophy. I just don't think he adds, anything anymore to this side. long. His number one attribute was always pace and driving at players. Seems to have lost a yard, and that's an issue. But that left side is somewhere that we do have issues, to be honest. So I think now is the time to sell. But it depends who comes in for him. Callum, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, I think Son's earned a move away, to be honest, now. There was something that I read the other day as well, saying that Spurs don't actually make that much money from the commercial revenue in Asia as everyone thought. It turns out a lot of the money goes into Son's own brands out there. We make a lot of match days over here, but for me, let him have a big payday. He's earned his Spurs now. He's got his trophy. I think move on. He's not getting any younger. Simple as that, mate.
The thing is, I could only see him go like a Saudi club coming in for him. But then I also wonder whether he'd be interested in going to Saudi because he's previously turned down the option to go to Saudi, I believe. Or said he's not interested. So,
do you reckon that's because he hadn't won a trophy? Because he always did say that he wanted to win a trophy at Spurs, didn't he? And he's achieved that now.
He's got a moral compass in his body and doesn't want to sell his soul for a few quid. I'm not sure. But yeah, only time will tell. I could be proven wrong, and he could go.
Well, probably the options are either Saudi or you go to the retirement league in the MLS, don't you? So it's either you go for the money or you go for a Zimmer frame. One of the two.
Yeah, I know what I'm choosing. Zimmer frame every day of the week. Harry, keep note or sell for Son.
Do you know what? People on social media annoy me, right? You can be thankful for what someone's done for your club and achieved, but also say enough is enough and move on. And fans don't seem to understand that. It's very similar with managerial situation. Thank you, and don't agree with the decision whatsoever. Call the club out for it, but also I'm going to give Thomas Frank a chance. He deserves that, and I think it's a good appointment. People can't seem to get their head around it. Maybe it's too much for their small brains to juggle. But with him and Son, I think that. Just thank you for everything that he's achieved. Thank you for his service, as the comment says there from Wes's mum. Has achieved so much, and winning the Europa League is now Tottenham Hotspur legend. The definition of loyal, the definition of servant, and the definition of a legend and leader, I think, as well. And what a leader looks like to an individual, I suppose, is up to you. But for me, I do see him as a leader. Whether he's a captain or not, I don't know. But he's someone that players look up to, and that for me is a leader. Absolutely. So. Thank you, Son, but we do have to sell. I think I completely agree with you. Luke doesn't really bring much to the table now. I think that's harsh, and I was jumped on by quite a few South Koreans when I suggested the thought of selling him. But I do think it'd be the right thing to do. I personally think that he does end up staying. I think he's very close to Postecoglou. I think that's really evident in the last kind of few months.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing against him, for selling him. You can sell somebody, as you said, and still be thankful for what they've done. I think it's just you have to look at it now, and he's got again just another year extension, I think. So he's got 1 year. We might as well try and make some money off him. Right, Callum, Radu Dragashin, keep, loan or sell?
For me, it's just loan. I don't think we're going to get any money for him after an ACL injury, being out for nearly 10, 11 months. I think there's a player there. I just don't know what type of player, to be honest. Let's put it that way. He's been so hit and miss. So I think maybe a loan to another Premier League club to give him a chance and then assess it in January or next summer. But yeah, loan for me, mate.
Harry?
Yeah, I agree with loan. I like him. I think he's very good, but I actually don't think he's right for, basic Postecoglou system. I don't think he's right for attacking football. I just think I see him as more as like a Mourinho, and in particular, but also Antonio Conte type signing. But he's here. He's good. I like him. I do prefer Danso, which we'll get on to later. So I'll be open to selling him. There's nothing against him. I think there's better in and around, but he's one that I think we do probably keep hold of. Loan. It's good to have quite a few decent centre backs at the club.
Yeah, I kind of agree with David Clark on this one. He said Dragashin sell. I think I could go on Callum's argument of financial gains and losses from him. I just don't think he's he kind of gets into the top 3 centre backs that we have. We've got good young players coming through as well. Let's not forget about Viskovic, who will be coming over at some point to Spurs when he's eligible. So I think he just drops down the pecking order. I also really dislike his agent. So personally, I'm going to go sell. But you guys have spoken, so alone it is. Right, Richarlison. Again, I'm going to stick him on the sell list. I take all the things. I do quite like Richie, and I think he did well when he needed to last season. I thought he played a vital role in that Europa League run to get us, over the line. But for me, it's hard for Spurs to sell a player like him for 60 million. We paid for him. They're going to get nothing close to that at this point. But for me, there's only one option, which is sell. Harry?
I'd be open to my opinion changing on this one, but for me, I probably think I agree with you. I think sell. I love the passion. And if we don't bring in a striker whatsoever in the window, and by the way, Mbama, I'm totally aware, can play in that striker position. So you know what Levy's like. Someone like that really suits him in terms of can play numerous positions, as kind of like Semenya, Eze, that we're also linked with. But I think Richarlison, for me, his time's up. I think a move back to Everton would make sense. This one, I think, definitely to keep an eye on. But really, I mean, I'm glad we signed him, but I think Everton conned us slightly. So thank you very much, Richarlison. Again, I think overhated among the fan base, but I think it would be right to say, look, yeah, we move you on. We need better, and we need someone who's going to stay fit and be consistent.
Yeah, 100%. Callum?
It's like when you release a pigeon into the air when it goes free, and then you're just sitting there with a 12 ball, just waiting for it to go past, like clay pigeon shooting and bring it down. Yeah, it's a sell for me. Great player on his day. The problem is that day is few, far between, and nowhere near what we expect from a 60 or 70 million pound player. So yeah, thanks very much, Richie, but your time is up.
Yeah. Definitely. Right, Callum, come back to you. Dane Scarlett.
Only reason I keep Dane is because of club quotas. I think there's a player there, but I don't think it's going to be at Premier League level, to be honest, mate. And the club seem to be erring towards that over the next 2 years as well.
No, fair enough. Harry?
Tough one. I'm not sure. Actually, tell you what, can you say who the player was again? My thing keeps crackling. Can you say it again? Just to be sure. Oh, it's Scarlett. Okay, cool. No worries. Thank you. I think for me, Keith, but give him an opportunity. Why not? What are you going to lose from giving him an opportunity? Yeah, it's just Keith for me. I think, why not? Sell Richarlison, keep Scarlett. Of course, I think we still need to go and sign another striker, but I don't see why you wouldn't give Scarlett an opportunity.
Yeah, fair enough. I want to go loan. So, Callum, what did you go for, loan?
No, I went for keep, mate, because of quotas.
No, fair enough. So what are we going for? Keep. I lost track there. Harry, what did you go for? Loan or keep?
For Scarlett, I said keep.
Keep, fine. Keep he goes. Alfie Devine, Callum.
Loan for me, but I think it could be a sell by the club, to be honest, mate.
No, fair enough. I would also go loan as well. Harry?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with loan. I think that makes sense to loan him. I like what I've seen, though.
For me, Vicario has to be keep. As much as I said, Kinski could get past him at some point. I still think he's our best keeper. So for me, it's keep. Sorry, I was just trying to read the comments just then.
Right.
Yeah, Callum, what are you going for Vicario?
Keep.
Harry?
Keep. Erratic, but keep. One more season.
Yeah, 100%. Right, Matthias Tell, Callum.
We ain't going to sell him or loan him, so it's a keep.
No, fair enough. What's your personal opinion?
There's a player there. I've just not seen enough of it at all at the moment, mate. And I hope he comes good. But my honest opinion, the end product is a joke at the moment for him. Someone who's so highly rated, he can't finish his dinner. Let's put it that way.
No, fair enough. I know. To be honest with you, I would I would say loan 100% for Tell. Personally, I don't think we've seen enough of him. I was shocked, to be honest. I think we only signed him because of the cut price deal that Spurs got, but I was shocked that they signed him as quickly as they did. But Harry, what are you going for?
With Tell, for me, I differ slightly because for me it's just keep. I like what I've seen. I don't know if I would have signed him. I think in the end we're probably paying quite a big price tag, but I like what we've seen. I think he showed leadership on and off the pitch. I think standing by Postecoglou with confrontations with the fans, with the media. For example, when the leadership team went missing so many times last season after defeat, especially on the road, I think Tell was given the Mike duty, obviously player on loan, come in and grew into it. I think we could have seen more. Yes, nothing to set the world alight, but I think that we saw enough to go, okay, let's take a punt here. But again, I want to be clear is I'm not settling for Tell. I think that we're in a position now where the reality is we're very far away from the best teams in this country and in Europe. We're not ready to compete with the Premier League and Champions League. We don't have the owners, the chairman that match the ambition needed to juggle more than one competition. That's why I don't get the point with Ange, but I don't want to get too much into that because what I do think is that we need to get the recruitment right this summer. I think we need to go up and beyond Tell. Thank you, good signing, but also we need someone else as well. I don't think it's fair to say like Tell and Odegaard to start every game in the Premier League and Champions League. So I think we need to sign an established winger so we can move on Son and also embed Tell quite nicely. Whereas he's thrown into the second half of the season, so I like him. So keep for me.
Fair enough. He's not going anywhere, so. Looks like we'll be keeping him.
Not.
Let's see how he gets on this season. Right, last one. Kevin Danso. Callum, keep, loan or sell? Hello?
Keep for me. I think it's an easy one. Keep him.
Perfect, Harry.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I like that. So I think it's an absolute keep for me. I think he's done excellent since coming to the club. I actually think he's been a really good signing. And so, recruitment, and I'll say it again, has been a massive massive issue that's really hurt this football club. But Danso has been a really good bit of business at a time where I think it's a poor January window in general. But I think it was a good signing. The player that's again chucked into the deep end, done very well.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think that he, when he was called upon, as you say, he was very, very good. I mean, he's not your classic silky centre back, but I think he does a very, very good job. And I think, just seeing the passion that he has and how well he's played for that half of the season, I think he's been brilliant. So we have to keep him. Right, that kind of wraps us up. That was a bit of a whirlwind whistle-stop tour. Not so many loans and sells, but there's a few ones that might have people disagreeing or agreeing. So do let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of the decisions that we've made. But let us know why as well. And if you're listening on any podcast platform as well, let us know your thoughts, whether we got it correct in the comments as well. But that does kind of wrap us up for tonight's show. Next week we'll be back on talking more about transfers and rumours and things that are going around before the start of the season. So, Harry, thanks again for coming on, mate. How can everybody find you at the moment?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be back. Looking forward to being on more this season. You can follow me at HarryScarf22 across all socials and football content creator and YouTuber, whether that be Instagram, TikTok, or X, for example. I also have my own YouTube channel, Harry Scarf, and podcast within that, the Scarfy Spurs Talk podcast, which will be doing 2 shows next week and also 2 shows in the next season, should I say, and also a Premier League show as well. So make sure you do stay tuned, but subscribe and like here to Park Lane Podcast. We'll be back on a lot more. It's great to be on with both of you. So thank you very much for having me.
Amazing. Thanks, Harry. And Callum, how can everyone find you, mate?
Just Callum Stubbs 97 on X. I am doing a lot more work with the club as well, and different people within it as well over the next couple of weeks. So I am hearing different bits of information, which I've been dropping on X and other podcasts I have been doing as well. So hopefully some different bits to come out in the next couple of weeks and months going forward. But we shall see.
Amazing. Hopefully dropping it all here first on part of the podcast. But look, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. If you want to follow me, it's Luke _Partlane. But more importantly, follow these other guys as well. But also Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're following the podcast on all social media. And we are trying to get to 1,000 TikTok followers by the start of the season. So hopefully we can reach, I think, 800 and something at the moment. So not far to go. So if you want to head over to TikTok as well. Because that's where all the cool people are, apparently. That's what everyone tells me. So thanks again to everyone for watching. Hope you have an amazing week. And hopefully we've got some more news for you next Sunday, 7 p.m. on Part Lane Podcast. But until then, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you